Alright, let's go ahead and jump into it. It's 5:06 on a Thursday, which is normally prep for Dungeons & Dragons time. But we're not going to be doing that until like 6:30 or so. So for now, we're going to spend 30 minutes studying Pathfinder. That's right. Then we'll work on Curse of Strahd later tonight, and we'll run Curse of Strahd later tonight. But right now, we're going to continue working on Pathfinder. Pathfinder 2nd Edition, to be precise. We're going to pick up right where we left off, and we're going to keep going over skills. So yesterday, I'm very tired. Yesterday, we learned that there are a lot of skills. There's a lot going on with skills. And then we were talking about general skills. And I believe we had stopped off at making income and working at Uncle Iroh's tea shop or whatever. The second example of working for money is a higher level example. Lem performs. Lem is a 16th level bard and legendary with his flute. He has a performance modifier of plus 31 with his enchanted flute. With 30 days of downtime ahead of him, Lem wonders if he can find something that might excite him more than performing in front of a bunch of stuffy nobles. He finds a momentous offer indeed, a performance in the celestial realm. And Lem's patron goddess, Shalene, might even be in attendance. This is a 20th level task, and the GM secretly sets the DC at a 40. Lem rolls an 11 on his performance check, and gets a 42, which is success. The engagement lasts a week, and at the end, the grateful Celestials present Lem with a beautiful living diamond rose in constant bloom, worth 1,400 gold pieces. So 200 gold per day for 7 days. With 23 days of downtime left, Lem accepts a 14th level task performing at a prestigious bard college for members of a royal court. The GM secretly sets the DC at 32, and Lem critically succeeds, earning 28 gold per day for a total of 644 gold pieces. Between the two performances, Lem has earned just over 2,000 gold pieces during his downtime, though he's not sure he'll ever sell that rose. Oh, that's nice. I mean, at level 16, I'm assuming he's rolling in cash, so I don't know why he would sell his amazing living diamond celestial rose from heaven, but, you know, whatevs. Extra preparation. When earning income, you might be able to spend days of downtime to prepare for your task, which adjusts the DC of the skill check. This might involve rehearsing a play, studying a topic, and so on. The GM determines how long preparation takes and how much the DC changes. This is most useful when you're trying a task that's higher level than you. Otherwise, such tasks have an increased DC. Ending or interrupting tasks. When a task you're doing is complete or you stop in the middle of one, you normally have to find a new task if you want to keep earning income. For instance, if you quit your job working at the docks, you'll need to find another place of employment instead of picking up where you left off. It usually takes 1 or more days of downtime looking for leads on new jobs. However, you might pause a task due to an adventure or event that wouldn't prevent you from returning to the old job later. The GM might decide that you can pick up where you left off, assuming the task hasn't been completed by others in your absence. Whether you roll a new skill check when you resume is also up to the GM. Generally speaking, if you had a good initial roll and want to keep it, you can, but if you had a bad initial roll, you could try for something better by pausing to do something else. If your statistics change during the break, usually because you leveled up while adventuring, you can attempt a new check. Cool. How much money can you get with earn income? You can use one of your skills to make money during downtime. The GM assigns a task representing the most lucrative job available, and you can search for lower level tasks, with the DM determining whether you find any. Sometimes you can attempt to find better work than the initial offering, so this takes time and requires using the diplomacy skill to gather information, doing some research, or socializing. When you take on a job, the GM secretly sets the DC of your skill check. After your first day of work, you roll to determine your earnings. You gain an amount of income based on your result, the task level, and your proficiency rank. You can continue working at the task on subsequent days without needing another roll again. For each day you spend after the first, you earn the same amount as the first day, up to the task completion. The GM determines how long you can work at the task. Most tasks last a week or two, though some can take months or even years. Well, that's some fun D&D, or sorry, tabletop right there. Working for several years at your part-time job. Critical success, you do outstanding work. You gain the amount of currency listed for the task level +1 and your proficiency rank. Oh, that's really good. Okay. Let's see. You do competent work, gain the amount of money, amount of currency listed for the task level of your proficiency, and your proficiency rank. You do shoddy work and get paid the bare minimum for your time. Gain the amount of currency listed in the failure column. Critical failure, you're nothing and are fired immediately. You cannot continue to work. Your reputation suffers, potentially making it difficult for you to find rewarding jobs in that community in the future. Sample, earn income taxes. These examples use alcohol lore to work in a bar or legal lore to perform legal work. Okay, so you could bartend, do legal research, curate drink selection, present minor court cases, run a large brewery, present important court cases, run an international brewing franchise, present a case in Hell's Courts. All right, checks out. Crafting goods for the market. Using crafting, you can work at producing common items for the market. It's usually easy to find work making basic items whose level is 1 or 2 below your settlement's level. Higher level tasks represent special commissions, which might require you to craft a specific item using the craft downtime activity and sell it to the buyer at full price. These opportunities don't occur as often and might have special requirements or serious consequences if you disappoint a prominent client. Practicing a trade. You apply the practical benefits of your lore specialties during downtime by practicing your trade. This is the most effective for lore specialties such as business, law, or sailing, where there's high demand for workers. The GM might increase the DC or determine only low-level tasks are available if you're attempting to use an obscure lore skill to earn money. You might also need specialized tools to accept a job, like mining tools to work in a mine, or merchant scales to buy and sell valuables at a market. Oof. All right, staging a performance. You perform for an audience to make money. The available audience determines the level of your task, since more discerning audiences are harder to impress, but provide a bigger payout. The GM determines the task level based on the audiences available. Performing for a typical audience of commoners on the street is a level 0 task, but a performance for a group of artisans with more refined tastes might be a 2nd or 3rd level task, and one for merchants, nobility, and royalty are increasingly higher level. Your degree of success determines whether you moved your audience and whether you were rewarded with applause or rotten fruit. Alright, so another activity you can do is identify magic. This is a trained skill. Using the skill related to the appropriate tradition, as explained in Magical Traditions and Skills on page 238, you can attempt to identify a magical item, location, or ongoing effect. In many cases, you can use a skill to attempt to identify magic of a tradition other than your own, but it will be at a higher DC. The GM determines whether you can do this and what that DC is. Item bonus for identify magic. Oh. There's an item called the Exploration Lens that gives you +2 bonus to checking to identify magical items. Alright. Let's see. The 4 magic skills key off of the 4 magic disciplines. Identify magic. This is a concentration, exploration, and secret. Once you discover that an item, location, or ongoing effect is magical, you can spend 10 minutes to try and identify the particulars of its magic. If your attempt is interrupted, you must start over. The GM sets the DC for your check. Cursed or esoteric subjects usually have higher DCs, or might even be impossible to identify using this activity alone. Heightening a spell doesn't increase the DC to identify it. If you critically succeed, you learn all attributes of the magic, including its name, what it does, any means of activating it for an item or location, and whether it is cursed. Well, that's pretty damn good. For an item or location, you get a sense of what it does and learn any means of activating it. For ongoing effects, such as a spell with a duration, you learn the effect's name and what it does. You can't try again in hopes of getting a critical success. And failure, you fail to identify the magic and you can't try again for 1 day. I love that the cooldowns are just built into the descriptions of the skills. So you're not being a dick when you tell your player, sorry, only one, you can only try 1 time, and that's it. Also, you have to be trained. that's raw. So you have to be trained, and you have to be trained in the right discipline. And if you don't make it, you don't find out. And unless you critically succeeded, you don't know if it's cursed. And it's a secret roll, so you never know if you critically succeeded or not. Goddamn. And then critical failure, you misidentify the magic as something else of the GM's choice. So maybe it's not cursed, but you think it's cursed. All right. Another activity you could do is learning a spell. If you're a spellcaster, you can use the skill. I don't know if identify is a spell or not, but I like the fact that anybody who has training in these skills has a chance of identifying magical items and magical effects without needing to have access to magic. So if you just like have a background where you learned magical stuff or you studied the occult, you don't have to be an occult spellcaster just to use the occult skill to identify magic. So I think that's pretty cool. Learn a spell. Trained. If you're a spellcaster, you can use the skill corresponding to your magical tradition to learn a new spell of that tradition. Let's see. Table 4.3, learning spell list in the price of the materials needed to learn them. There is an item that helps with this. The items are Endless Grimorums, and they come in 4 different flavors, just like items in 4th edition D&D. Let's see. Learning a spell is concentration and exploration. You have a spellcasting class feature, and the spell you want to learn is on your magical tradition spell list. You can gain access to a new spell on your tradition from someone who knows that spell, or from magical writing like a spellbook or scroll. You can cast spells of multiple traditions. If you can cast spells of multiple traditions, you can learn any spell on any of those traditions, but you must use the corresponding skill to do so. For example, if you were a cleric with the bard multiclass archetype, you couldn't use religion to add occult spells to your bard spell repertoire. To learn the spell, you must do the following. Spend 1 hour per level of spell, during which you must remain in conversation with a person who knows the spell, or have the magical writing in your possession. Have materials with the price indicated on the table below. Attempt a skill check for the skill corresponding to your tradition. DC determined by the GM, often close to the DC. Uncommon or rare spells have higher DCs. If you have a spell book, learning a spell lets you add the spell to your spell book. If you prepare spells from a list, it's added to your list. If you have a spell repertoire, you can select it when you add or swap spells. Interesting. Do you have to study them if you are an innate spellcaster? Or can you just pick whatever spells you want when you level up? I don't know. If you critically succeed, it takes half the materials to learn the spell. Otherwise, it's normal. If you fail, you can try again only after you gain a level. But the materials are not expended, and if you fail, you lose half the invested money, and you don't learn, and you just suck. Alright, you can also recall knowledge as a general skill. It is untrained, so anybody can do this, so Barbarian can try to make an Arcana check, he's allowed. To remember useful information on a topic, you can attempt to recall knowledge. You might know basic information about something without needing to attempt a check, but recall knowledge requires you to stop and think for a moment so you can recollect more specific facts and apply them. You might even need to spend time... Oh, what's up, first-time chat? Strangely Brown. One of my players runs a wizard. If the party defeats an evil wizard, first thing that player does is rush forward. Where is it? Where is it hiding? Ah, nice. Ideally, that's what's supposed to happen with all wizards, but with this system, I could definitely see with there being very concrete mechanics on how to acquire more spells, for sure. That is the greatest treasure, because that stuff's expensive. Let's see, recall knowledge. You might even need to spend time investigating first. For instance, to use medicine to learn about the cause of death, you might need to conduct a forensic examination before attempting to recall knowledge. Things that can help you are codexes of unimpeded sight, diadems of intellect, scholarly journals, survey maps, a survey map atlas, a hoax hunter's kit, and the explorer's lens for investigating. Kind of sounds like a magnifying glass, a little bit. Alright, what kind of information can you recall with this skill? Depends on the skill, actually. Arcana recalls knowledge about arcane theories, magical traditions, creatures of arcane significance like dragons and beasts. That's interesting. And the elemental, astral, and shadow planes. Crafting. Recall knowledge about alchemical reactions, the value of items, so it's the praise skill from old Dungeons and Dragons. Engineering, unusual materials, and alchemical or mechanical creatures. The GM determines which creatures this applies to, but it usually includes constructs. Lore. Recall knowledge about the subject of your lore skills subcategory. So whatever you declared your lore was in, that's what you're recalling knowledge about. Medicine. Recall knowledge about disease, injuries, poison, and other ailments. You can use this to perform forensic examinations if you spend 10 minutes or more, as determined by the GM, checking for evidence such as wound patterns. This is most useful when determining how a body was injured or killed. Let's see. It's important when used in combat. Instead of 3 attack actions at -10, do a recall knowledge on the ghoul. Then the GM has to give you information on the creature or answer questions. What is the creature's weakest save? Nice. Yeah, that was that is familiar to me from 4th edition, so that's good to know. Let's see. Where are we at? Recall nature. It tells you about fauna, flora, geography, weather, the environment, creatures of natural origin like animals, beasts, fae, and plants. The first world, the material plane, and the elemental planes. I don't know what the first world is, but it's got capital letter for the F, so I'm a little curious, but I think we are months away from digging into the lore, so we'll just have to learn as we play on Tuesday nights. Occultism. Recall knowledge about ancient mysteries, obscure philosophies, creatures of occult significance like aberrations, spirits, and oozes, and the positive energy, negative energy, shadow, astral, and ethereal plane. Wow, that's pretty good. Religion. Recall knowledge about divine agents, the finer points of theology, obscure myths regarding a faith, and creatures of religious significance like celestials, fiends, and undead. The outer sphere, and the positive and negative energy planes. And then society, recall, this is the one that I had no idea existed. Recall knowledge about local history, important personalities, legal institutions, societal structure, and humanoid culture. The GM might allow society to be applied to other creatures that are a major element of a society in your region, such as the draconic nobility in a kingdom of humans ruled by dragons. Let's see. You can also recall knowledge, concentrate secret. You can attempt a skill check to try to remember a bit of knowledge regarding a topic related to that skill. The GM determines the DC for such checks and which skills apply. You recall knowledge accurately and gain additional information or context. That's with a critical success. With a success, you recall the knowledge accurately or gain a useful clue about your current situation. And a critical failure, you recall incorrect information or gain an erroneous or misleading clue. The following skills can be used to recall knowledge, getting information about the listed topics. In some cases, you can get the GM's permission to use a different but related skill, usually against a higher DC than normal. Some topics might appear on multiple lists, but the skills could give different information. For example, Arcana might tell you about the magical defenses of a golem, whereas Crafting would tell you about its sturdy resistance to physical attacks. Also, recall knowledge society means what does your society know about a subject. The first world is the Fey world. It is the first world made by the gods, but they made it too perfect. No challenges like the Matrix, so they made another. Oh, that's good to know. You can learn spells and use spells in your magic tradition. Yes. I'm just wondering, as like a summoner, I'm an innate caster. When I get to like a level where I could learn new spells, do I actually have to go learn those new spells, or do I just get them automatically for leveling up? Like that's what I'm unsure of. Let's see. So Arcana tells you about arcane theories, magical traditions, creatures. Yeah, we already talked about all this. It's the same words that were up there, but slightly different. The GM might allow checks to recall knowledge using other skills. For example, you might assess the skill of an acrobat by using your acrobatics. If you're using a physical skill, like in this example, the GM will most likely have you do a mental ability score, typically intelligence, instead of the skill normally associated, or the ability normally associated with that skill. Oh, you only get common spells when you level. Uncommon rare you have to find. Well, shit. I guess I'm going to be running up and grabbing spell books when we kill wizards too. Holy shit. That's good to know. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. So let's see. Um, all right. Sample recall knowledge tasks. An untrained would be name of the ruler, key noble, or major deity. Well, I hope so. Trained, line of succession for a major noble family, core doctrines of a major deity, expert, genealogy of a minor noble, teachings of an ancient priest, master, hierarchy of a genie noble court, major extraplanar temples of a deity, and legendary, existence of a long-lost noble heir, secret doctrines of a religion. All right, another action that you could do, a general action, is subsist, which is untrained. I think that just means being alive. If you need to provide food and shelter, you can use the subsist downtime activity. This typically uses society if you're in a settlement, or survival if you're in the wild. Oh, okay. Subsist in a settlement by finding shelter, scrounging, and begging for food. Okay. And then subsist in the wild by foraging for food or building shelter. Aw. Subsist is like the being poor action. That's really sad. Alright. You could try to provide food and water for yourself, and possibly others as well, with a standard of living. The GM determines the DC based on the nature of the place where you're trying to subsist. You might need a minimum proficiency rank to subsist in a particularly strange environment. Unlike most downtime activities, you can subsist after 8 hours of illicit exploration, but if you do, you take a -5 penalty. If you get a crit success, you either provide a substance... you either provide a subsistence... Oh, man. Subsistence. Yeah. You either provide a subsistence living for yourself and one additional creature, or you improve your own food and shelter, granting yourself comfortable living. So you basically, move in with somebody, I guess. Start squatting in, a abandoned mansion. They're, out on vacation or something. If you succeed, you find enough food and shelter with basic protection from the elements to provide you a subsistent living. Failure, you're exposed to the elements and don't get enough food, becoming fatigued until you attain sufficient food and shelter. And critical failure, you attract trouble, is something you shouldn't, or otherwise worsen your situation. You take a -2 circumstance penalty to checks to subsist for 1 week. You don't find any food at all. If you don't have any stored up, you're in danger of starving and dying of thirst if you continue failing. Well, sounds like we're going to need that in Kingmaker, for sure. Alright, sample difficulties. Untrained, a lush forest with calm weather, or a large city with plentiful resources. Trained skill, typical hillside or village. Expert, typical mountains or insular hamlet. Master, typical desert or city under siege. Legendary, barren wasteland or city of undead. What if you're undead, though? Would you be okay then? Another general skill, apparently, is tapping ley lines. Let's see. Yeah, after the first few levels, subsist is in an urban area. It starts to become unimportant as you start to get so much money from adventuring that, yeah. I would assume this is a very edge case skill, for sure. Tap ley line. You could use your magical prowess to temporarily access the powers of a ley line. Tapping a ley line requires a skill check using a skill associated with its tradition. In cases where a ley line has multiple associated traditions, you could use any of the appropriate skills to tap that ley line. The benefits of a ley line are always magical in nature and can be counteracted in a similar way to magical items. Alright. You attempt to manipulate the magical essence of a ley line that you're aware of within 30 feet. This also feels kind of like an edge case situation. The GM determines the base DC. You gain the ley line's benefit until the end of your next turn with a critical success. With a success, you gain the benefit until the end of your turn. This is only 1 Pac-Man out of 3 Pac-Mans, so it's not too bad. Failure, you take mental damage equal to 1d6 times the ley line's level. You can't tap the ley line again for 1 hour. And a critical failure, as failure, and you're subjected to the ley line's backlash effect. You can't tap the ley line again for 24 hours. Hey, what's up, Dom? What is a ley line? In stories, a ley line represents, like, the flow of magic. In, like, Forgotten Realms, it's like the flow of the weave, like, as it makes its way in and around and through the world. So, it's basically, if the Final Fantasy VII, you know, the planet's alive or whatever, this is like the blood flowing through the planet, like the magic that flows through all things. If it's Star Wars, it's like the Force, just kind of going through everything. All right, cool. So let's go to actual real skills. All right. Acrobatics. Acrobatics measure your ability to perform tasks requiring coordination and grace. When you use the escape basic action, you can use your acrobatics modifier instead of your unarmed attack modifier. Good to know. There are a number of items. Oh my god. There are a lot of items that will assist you with acrobatics. I'm not going to read them all. There's also some feats related to acrobatics. We will read those next. What does acrobatics do? Acrobatics, untrained actions. Everyone knows how to do these, and that includes balancing for 1 Pac-Man. This is a move action. You are in a square that consists of a narrow space, uneven ground, or a similar feature. You move across a narrow surface or uneven ground, attempting an acrobatics check against its balance DC. If you are flat-footed while on a narrow surface, that means people have a +2 to attack you, pretty sure. Critical success, you can move at your normal speed. Success, you move at your speed, but you treat it as difficult terrain. So every 5 feet is 10 feet. Failure, you must remain stationary to keep your balance, wasting your action. Or you fall. If you fall, your turn ends. Well, that sucks. Critical failure, you fall, and your turn ends. Now, keep in mind, there is a reaction to grab the ledge. I think that's under athletics. I'm not 100% sure. It might be under this. Examples of increasingly difficult things to balance on. Untrained, tangled roots, uneven cobblestones. Wooden beam is trained. Then it goes deep, loose gravel. Then we go up to tightrope. Smooth sheet of ice, and then we go up to the literal razor's edge for legendary, and chunks of floor falling in mid-air. God damn. Okay, that's pretty cool. Let's see. Tumble through. So I saw this on Tuesday when we were playing. Tumble through is 1 Pac-Man, and it's a move action. You stride up to your speed. During this movement, you can try to move through the space of 1 enemy. Attempt an acrobatics check against the enemy's reflex DC as soon as you try to enter its space. You could tumble through using climb, fly, swim, or another action instead of stride in the appropriate environment. If you succeed, you move through the enemy space, treating the spaces in its square as difficult terrain, every 5 feet, 10 feet. If you don't have enough speed to move all the way through the space, you get the same effect as a failure. In failure, your movement ends, and you trigger reactions as if you had moved out of the square you started in. Alright, that's pretty self-explanatory. I love how that's not an opposed roll. Again, only the person that is doing something makes rolls. So, I think that's pretty neat. It also saves time, because it's 1 less dice roll that we have to deal with. Let's see. No, these are Pac-Mans. You can see it if you look at it. It's Pac-Man eating a pellet. That's why we're calling Pac-Mans. And then all 3 of them is Human Centipede. So Human Centipede's the most powerful. And then you got Pac-Man, and you got 2 Pac-Mans, and then you got Human Centipede. I don't make the rules. That's just how it is. Maneuver in flight. You try a difficult maneuver while flying, like a barrel roll. Attempt an acrobatics check. The GM determines what maneuvers are possible, but they rarely allow you to move further than your fly speed. You succeed at the maneuver. Your maneuver fails. The GM chooses if you simply can't move or some other detrimental effect happens. The outcome should be appropriate for the maneuver you attempted. For instance, being blown off course if you were trying to fly against a strong wind. Critical failure as a failure, but the consequences are much more dire. All right. That's cool, I guess. I didn't know maneuver and flight was a thing. That's kind of cool. Let's see. Squeezing. All right. You contort yourself. This is an exploration move action. You contort yourself to squeeze through a space so small that you can barely fit through. This action is for exceptionally small spaces. Many tight spaces are difficult terrain that you can move through more quickly and without a check. Critical success. You squeeze through the tight space in 1 minute per 10 feet of squeezing. Success. You squeeze through in 1 minute per 5 feet. This is the real scary squeezing. This is like the spelunking in caves, like contorting your body, dislocating your shoulders. Like, this is the real nasty stuff. So critical success, you go 1 minute per 10 feet. Success, you go 1 minute per 5 feet. And then critical fail, you become stuck in the tight space. While you're stuck, you can spend 1 minute attempting another acrobatics check at the same DC. Any result on that check other than a critical failure will cause you to become unstuck. Well, that's good to know. All right. Sample squeeze. Trained, space barely fitting your shoulder. Master, space barely fitting your head. Absolutely disgusting. All right, so that's it for acrobatics. It only has 3 things that you could do. Balance. No, wait. It's all right. It's a little bit more than that. Let's see. Balance, tumble through, and then if you're trained, you got maneuver and flight and squeeze. All right. So what are the feats related to acrobatics? Okay. So there is acrobatic performer. You can use acrobatics to perform. A great example of this would be Reset from Odyssey of the Dragon Lord's Prime. She is a martial artist and a dancer. She has a perform skill. I allow her to use the dexterity for her perform skill to represent that she is not performing with her voice or her strength of personality, but instead by showcasing her martial arts and her dance moves. Here, there would be an actual feat that you would need to take to make that happen. I'm sure that there's a lot more to it than that, but maybe not. Let's see. You're an incredible acrobat. Well, you move so well, it's a performance. You can roll acrobatics check instead of performance when using perform action. Nope, that's all the feat does. All right. Then we got Catfall. This is actually very good. This is one of the, when I was looking up best feats in Pathfinder 2. Catfall was one of like the top 10 or top 20 best feats. Your cat-like aerial acrobatics allow you to cushion your falls. Treat falls as 10 feet shorter. If you're an expert in acrobatics, treat falls as 25 feet shorter. And if you're a master in acrobatics, treat them as 50 feet shorter. If you're legendary in acrobatics, you always land on your feet and you don't take damage regardless of the distance of the fall. And this apparently leads to Leshy Glide, which are like plant people, and I guess you get like a Breath of the Wild leaf that like pops out of your back or some shit, and you hang glide around. I don't know. All right, what else do we got? Quick Squeeze. You squeeze 5 feet per round, 10 feet on a successful or on a critical success. If you're legendary in acrobatics, you just squeeze at full speed. So you just liquefy your body like a cat. You just melt through whatever your head fits in. This leads to an even more powerful feat called Implausible Infiltration, which requires. Why am I even looking at the level 18 stuff? I guess out of curiosity. You need to be legendary in acrobatics and have quick squeeze. You are adjacent to a floor or vertical wall. You find tiny holes or imperfections that no one else could see and try to somehow fit yourself through them, possibly moving directly through the wall or floor from one side to the other. Oh, you also have to be a rogue, I should mention. And this is magic that is happening. What the fuck? Your movement attempts fail if the wall or floor is made of something other than wood, plaster, or stone, is thicker than 10 feet, contains even a thin layer of metal. If you have a climb speed, you can use this ability to attempt to move through a ceiling. That is bananas. Okay. You know what? You know what? At level 18 in Dungeons & Dragons, the wizard will be wishing himself into a goddamn legendary, like, ancient dragon, while the rogue is like, here I am. Not rolling lower than a 10 on my skills. Yeah. So you know what? That's cool. I'm glad that Pathfinder Rogue can meld through walls. Good for them. I love that for them. Alright, steady balance. This acrobatics feat, you can keep your balance easily, even in adverse conditions. Whenever you roll a success using the balance action, you get a critical success instead. You're not flat-footed while attempting to balance on narrow surfaces or uneven ground. Thanks to your incredible balance, you can attempt an acrobatics check instead of a reflex save to grab an edge. Ooh, that's pretty cool. Okay. Yeah, that's pretty neat. I mean, that's way better than using acrobatics for performance. Like, way better. Alright, nimble crawl. Let's see. You can crawl incredibly swiftly, up to half your speed, rather than 5 feet. Oh, so you can crawl as fast as a 5th edition D&D character. That's cool. If you're a master in acrobatics, you can crawl full speed. That's fun. And if you're legendary, you aren't flat-footed while prone. Okay. I don't, maybe not. Not so interested in that one. Aerobatics Master. Alright, this is for flying around, I guess. You gotta be level 7, you gotta have Master in Acrobatics. You move with grace in flight and can perform amazing aerial stunts. Like a barrel roll, Fox! You gain a +2 circumstance bonus to acrobatics checks to maneuver in flight and can combine 2 maneuvers into a single action, such as reversing direction while making a steep ascent, or descent, or hovering in gale force winds. The DC of acrobatic check is equal to the DC of the most difficult maneuver +5. If you're legendary in acrobatics, you can combine 3 such maneuvers into a single action. The DC of the acrobatics check is equal to the DC of the most difficult maneuver +10. Regardless of the combination, these maneuvers rarely allow you to move farther than your speed. Well, someday, when I understand how complicated the flying rules are, I bet this will seem like a really useful skill. Or feat. Alright. And then Kip Up. This was also in the top 20 feats for Pathfinder list. You stand up. This movement doesn't trigger reactions. Apparently, they really don't like reactions in Pathfinder. They do not want to get hit with opportunity attacks or reactions or anything like that. So, anything that denies your opponent opportunity attacks is apparently very, very good. Alright. So let's see. Ooh, shit. We're like at time, aren't we? Time just flies when you're reading stuff. Alright, so we only made it through. Oh my god, this is going to take forever. So we only made it through acrobatics and the rest of general skills today. So the next time we stream, we will try to tackle Arcana and maybe Athletics. I doubt we'll get through both. Maybe. Alright. Anyways, I'm gonna go eat some food and get ready for tonight's game. I'll be back around 6:30. We're gonna stream some prep for Curse of Strahd. We're gonna be working on the village of Valakai. Raw, it's pronounced Valaki. And then we've got a game tonight at 8. So if you're interested in hanging out, Dom Odyssey will be streaming that on Twitch. Otherwise, the VOD will go live Monday on YouTube. So yeah, if you're interested in some very spooky, low magic, high anxiety Curse of Strahd, that's what we're doing tonight at 8 p.m. Tomorrow night, Dom and I are going to be doing our vodcast. We're going to spend an hour talking about our new not D&D games and what we are liking about Cyberpunk Red and Pathfinder 2E, because each of us is trying out a different game right now. Also, Orpheus will be running Rime of the Frost Maiden tomorrow night. Saturday morning, we've got Red Hand of Doom. Saturday night, we will not be playing Solasta. Dom sold out. He's going to some kind of company work party or something, so we're not going to play without him. Also, he's the one that owns the game, so we can't play without him. And let's see, Sunday morning, we're going to do our other Curse of Strahd game, Daybreak, and do some prep for that. And then Sunday night, we've got Mythic Odyssey. Probably going to head over to the Isle of Yonder, start working towards the end of Chapter 5, maybe, who knows. And then Monday night, we got our level 18 game, just punching gods in the stomach, you know, that sort of stuff. Just normal, everyday level 18 things. Tuesday, Cyberpunk Red with Dom continues, and my Pathfinder 2 game, where I am a player and I am learning the system. We are looking for 2 more people for that game, so if you are interested in joining that game on Tuesday nights to learn the system, hit me up on Discord. I'll give you all the links and stuff. And then Wednesday, we'll be back here for more Curse of Strahd. All right, I'll see you guys at 6:30, or I'll see you next time.